Hey everybody, and welcome to another Cricut craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's totally free. Just click the big red subscribe button. I post videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus live video, so be sure to hit the bell icon because that will alert you to when I post a new video. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to do a really fun craft with a mermaid theme. So this is our mermaid wall art. Very easy to do. You can do this with or without a Cricut, so it's really fun, but I did mine using my Cricut to cut my circles. So all you'll need is a canvas or a piece of wood or something to adhere the circles to. This one is canvas. You'll need some different colors of cardstock, so you'll need a couple colors. I like to recommend using like complementary colors, so if you're going to stick with the blues or the pinks or the purples, whatever you want to do, you can do any colors that you want. And then I liked to add a little sparkle to mine, so I did some glitter cardstock. And then I have some holographic thinner paper that I used to make the holographic scales. And then you'll just need a glue gun. Any glue gun will do. Let's go over to Design Space, and I'm going to show you how to make sure that you cut enough circles and the right size circles to fit on your canvas. Over here in Design Space, we are going to start out with a template that just shows how large our canvas is. So what we need to do is first open a shape, and we're going to open a square. And the next thing that you need to do once your square is on your screen is right here in the lower left-hand corner, click on the lock so that it becomes unlocked. We're going to make it 11 inches wide, and it's going to be 14 inches high. And that's the size of our canvas. Now I have zoomed this out a little bit so that we can see the entire canvas on our screen. If you ever need to zoom out, there is right down here in the corner is this little zoom out option. It's hard to see if you're not hovering over it, but once you hover over it, you can see it really well. The next thing that we'll need to do is get a shape, and we're going to get a circle. And I think obviously a 3-inch circle is way too big for this design, but I'm going to go ahead and change the color of my circle just so it's easier to see on the screen for you guys and for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to size this down. So the one that I saw was about, I think, a 20-inch canvas or so. So they used a 2-inch square or circle. I'm going to use probably closer to like a 1.3, maybe 1.4-inch circle for now. And we'll just kind of play with it and see what size we want to go with. Maybe 1/6. Okay, we'll do 1/6-ish. So what we'll do first is we're going to just duplicate the circle a whole bunch of times, because we're going to need quite a few of them, because we're going to do this so that we make sure that we have enough circles to go across our canvas. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just line all of my circles up, and this doesn't have to be exact, but you do want to try to get them fairly close to touching on the edges for each circle. And we can always resize this down if we realize that it's going to be a little awkwardly sized. But what we're going to do is just lay them all right next to each other. And again, you just kind of want to get them pretty close to touching. Don't worry about the bottoms right now, because we can easily have Design Space align the bottoms for us. So now that we've got them kind of in a line, you can select each circle by holding Control and clicking each circle. And I'm going to go up here to the top for align, and I'm going to have it align the bottoms of them just so they're in a straight line. And I can see right here I've got one that's a little close to the other one. This is just to help us size. Like I said, this is just to make sure we have a good size circle for our canvas. So we'll just scoot these guys over just a hair, and that was probably a little too far. So that's pretty good. They look fairly good, but we'll make them a little bit bigger because I think they might be just a tad small. I want about half of the circles on the sides hanging off, and I think that looks pretty good. So that's pretty gosh darn good. We don't need these circles anymore. We can just go ahead and delete them. So what we'll do now is take all the circles that we have, which is this whole bottom line, and all I did was hit Control and select them over on the Layers tab, and I'm going to attach these circles. You don't want to weld them because we don't want to get rid of any cut lines. We just want them to stay in place. And then we're going to duplicate this line a whole bunch of times. So all I'm doing is just clicking duplicate a bunch. Don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we'll just move some of these over so we can see what we're doing. And we'll start with just one of these. And the thing is, you're going to see that you're going to end up with kind of a weird spot at the bottom or at the side. And don't worry, that's totally fine. You'll cut extra circles just in case for some reason you mix them up when you are moving them on your screen. Now some of these you're going to have to move to the front so that you can see them better. So you right click on it and click send to front. And all I'm doing is lining them up. So you see how it's making like a scallop pattern so that it looks like mermaid scales. But because we duplicated them and we moved them around, we're going to probably have to move some of them to the front. And again, I just move them to the front so I can get a better idea. And the reason we're doing this is so that we make sure that we cut enough circles to cover our entire canvas. You don't want to like cut a million circles and then not need all of them. So I just think this is a great way to save yourself a little bit of hassle and a little bit of material. So we're going to need some more circle lines, but what you can do is you can always select multiple lines and duplicate all of them, and then you'll get a bunch of extra lines versus just like one at a time. It's just a personal preference thing, however you want to do it. But again, all I'm doing is just lining them up, and as you can see, my circles are going each in between each other, and every once in a while you'll accidentally click on the wrong thing. You can either go up here and hit undo, and it'll put it back the way you had it, or you can just send that to the back. But what I need to do is send these circles to the front just so I can get a look at which direction they go. But as you can see, I'm alternating back and forth as to where they are. Now, these are not 100% lined up, and it's fine. This is, again, just to show you how many circles you'll need, and it'll just help you save on some materials while you're doing this. But you can see we should be good once we get this last line up, and this thing's going to be a little bit slow today for some reason. I don't know if you guys notice this sometimes too when you're trying to do things. It'll like randomly get really slow, and it does that especially when you have multiple items on the screen. It didn't do it the first time I did this because I actually did this and I'm recording it after I made the design on the canvas, but it didn't do the slow stuff while I was doing it. So, all right, that's plenty of circles. I may make an extra line just to be safe. So I always like to just have an extra space and a line. So it is going to go a little bit slow, and I hate that it does it, but it does, and it's just one of the natures of the beast. So we'll use 4 different colors of blue. We're going to use a glitter and then a holographic. So you want to make sure to cut these in the different colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my silver line first. I'm just going to make those ones the light gray. And you'll see that they'll change color eventually. Again, it's being a little bit slow right now. This just is the nature of Design Space. And then we'll do a holographic, which I'll just make purple just to sort of stand out so that I remember that it's holographic. Now you can absolutely cut more holographic, more glitter if you want, but the way I did mine, I just did a line of each, but you can absolutely cut more. So now what we need to do, and I just did this so it was fairly even, is I just alternated colors. So we'll leave that color light blue, and we'll go up to the next line, and all I'm doing is clicking on one of the circles and then just selecting a color. So all we'll do is we'll just make this a different shade of blue. We'll select this circle over here, so then we're on the next line up, and we'll just pick another shade of blue. And then we'll select another circle, and we will select another shade. We'll just kind of do a couple different shades. And this just helps you so that you know what colors you're cutting. Now, we're going to have kind of an odd number, so what I'm going to do is just duplicate one of these, and then we'll have an even number of all the circles. Again, you don't have to have an even number. I just felt like that worked better for me, and I felt like I had a little more control over my colors and a little more idea of how I wanted them to cut. So what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead and just finish this. This is super easy. So we can get rid of this guy here. So we got rid of the square, we don't need that, but now what we need to do is just detach all of our lines. And I know this seems like kind of a pain, and it honestly is, but you have to do this so that your circles will all cut separately, and we need them to do that so that A, they're not overlapping and not getting weird lines in them, and also so that they are going to take up, like, fit on the paper correctly, because it doesn't matter that we put them in this order. It doesn't matter at all because you're going to put them out of order on the canvas. So we'll detach everything. All I did was start it at the bottom, and I'm just selecting the word attach above each of our lines, and then going here and selecting detach. I'm not sure where that little guy came from, but we don't need him, so we can delete that guy. That was like a hidden random one that I must have duplicated and lost. So you can go ahead and delete that one. We don't need it.
So yeah, we'll just start back at the bottom because we still have some more lines to go. I just find it easier to start at the bottom because every time you hit detach, it moves that line up to the top. So that line's going to be in the front of everything. So if you start at the bottom, you just have to scroll up, find the word attach, and then detach everything. So just remember when you do attach, that is to hold things in place. So think of it as like putting a piece of tape on something so that it stays exactly where you want it to stay. So we're going to make sure that we detach everything because we want Cricut to be able to fit as many as it can on its mats. So we'll just make sure we've detached everything. Looks like we're good. So once you have detached everything and gotten rid of the square, you just go ahead and you're going to click on Make It. Now for my sheets are 8.5 by 11. So what I'm going to do is change right here where it says material size, and you're going to find the size of material you're using. Now if you're using a 12 by 12 cardstock sheet, that's totally fine. You can do that, but mine are 8.5 by 11 sheets, and you're going to have to do that for each of your sheets of paper. So you'll see that I'm going to have to change these all to 8.5 by 11 because it doesn't do that automatically, because some of your sheets, maybe you have this sheet in a 12 by 12 and maybe you have this one in a 12 by 12, or maybe you do only have this in an 8.5 by 11. So you just want to make sure that you choose the right material size before you hit Make It. So what we'll do now is I'm going to make sure that my machine is on and plugged in, and then we will hit continue and I'll show you how to select your material. Once you've changed all of your sizing to the correct size, you'll hit continue, and it's going to come over here and it'll bring up all our materials once it connects to my machine. This one is direct USB plugged in. I do use Bluetooth on my other computer, but this is a direct plug-in. So the first thing that we're going to cut, I'm going to cut number 1, which is going to be our glitter cardstock. So what we'll need to do is go browse all materials, and I just search glitter right up here where it says search materials, and I find glitter cardstock and I select that. Now my glitter cardstock is a little bit thick, so I do it with more pressure, but you'll want to do a test cut before you go and cut all of your circles if it's a new material and you're not sure how it's going to cut. So once we've cut that, we need to change our material because our blue sheets are a different type of material. So before you hit the go button on your Cricut, you're just going to click right here where it says material set to, and you can easily just change that material. So we're going to use a medium cardstock on that next one, and I just want to make sure to change it back to my default pressure. Once we cut everything out, we can go over to the canvas to show you guys how to do it. I've split my colors up into little sections just to kind of keep myself organized, and then what I'm going to do is just a dab of hot glue right onto my piece of paper, and then I'm going to set it on my canvas, and I have it centered, and then I have it hanging off just a little bit, and we will trim off the hanging part, but you could leave it on if you wanted to. It just depends on the look you're going for. And then from there, I'm just going to go along and do each of the circles, and you'll see that all I'm doing is putting just a small dot of glue right on the top of the circle where it's going to be on the canvas. You do not want to put a lot of glue on these because you can cause a wrinkle, and you don't really need a lot of glue, which is really nice when you're making this. You want to try to keep them nice and even, and then you can see I kind of changed the colors up. I tried not to put too many of the same color next to each other. I wanted to make it a little more colorful and variegated, so keep that in mind when you are doing this. Now that we have moved on to the second row, we are going to do the same idea where we're just going to put a small dot of glue up at the top of our circle, and then we are going to have it so that our circle overlaps just a bit onto our second or our bottom row. You'll see that they are just a little bit of an overlap. I tried to overlap it so that where the two circles underneath meet is covered just a little bit by the circle at the top. As you go, you're going to want to make sure you're trying to keep these nice and straight and even, and again, mixing up all of your colors so that you have a nice, colorful board. next thing that we'll need to do is trim off all of the hanging pieces. So I'm going to hit a couple of them with the scissors, which may or may not work for you. And certain parts of mine, I was having a little bit of struggle bus riding, trying to get these off. But you can definitely cut them with a pair of scissors or with an X-Acto knife and just trim off any of the hanging parts that are hanging off the side of your canvas or your wood or whatever you put this on. To get a bit of a cleaner cut, I used a X-Acto knife and then I put some heavy cardstock paper underneath where I'm cutting so that I don't cut into my table. That would be very, very bad, but definitely if you want to cut them really, really close to your canvas, an X-Acto knife is awesome. I hope you guys had a great time learning how to make this mermaid scale wall art. I had a ton of fun making it, and I love how beautiful and colorful and shiny it is. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. It is totally free to do. Just hit that big red subscribe button and hit the bell icon because that will let you know when I post a new video. I post new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus live video. Also, take a look at my Facebook group. We have a lot of fun in the group. The link is down below. Have a great day and happy crafting.